After seeing Bringle's video on minimum turns that was near door, I just had to find out how many turns it would take to beat Paper Mario 64. The main rules regarding this challenge are as such. I can run from fights that are not explicitly required without adding to the turn count. I also count first strikes as part of the first turn, so that means I can never win a fight in 0 turns. This isn't technically how the game sees it, but it felt right to have the ruling be this way. The start of the game is pretty slow because our first fight is basically just a cutscene. The only option is to jump on Bowser, so I spend 3 turns jumping on him, and then he buffs himself with a Star Rod, making himself invulnerable to damage. After 2 more turns, he actually takes us out and launches us out of Peach's castle. So 5 turns gone immediately, and we haven't even won a fight yet. After being rescued by the residents of the Goomba village, we find a hammer and run into our second battle against Junior Tubba. This battle is somewhat similar to the Bowser fight, as we still have not unlocked any form of action commands or really variability. We can use hammers, but with a total of 5 HP, our 1 damage jumps will take 5 turns to kill him. So, 10 turns already and we're only 2 fights in. This does not look good. Throughout this challenge, most enemy turns don't necessarily matter, so I will only really go over enemy actions if they cause the turn count to adjust in any way. And yeah, hitting double digits within the first 2 battles of this challenge is a little bit sad, but thankfully this is the point where we start to actually strategize for battles. Another thing to think about with this challenge is dodging enemies in the overworld. While many enemies can just simply be walked around, some are almost completely impossible to get past without entering battle. Because of this, I implemented one more rule for myself in this challenge. While I am allowed to run from non-required battles, I cannot just run from a battle and use the intangibility to get past the enemy. I must do it 100% legit. After returning to Goomba Village, Goomba gives me the Power Jump badge. This badge adds 2 damage to my jump attack at the cost of 2 flower points. While talking to Goomba, he also lets his grandson Goombario join us for the adventure. With these new additions, I head out of Goomba Village and run into our first actual fight of this challenge. The Goomba Bros have 6 and 7 health respectively. With previous strategies, this fight would take 7 turns for us to just jump and head bonk both of these Goombas to death. But now we have technology. To start this battle, I power jump onto the red Goomba and then head bonk it to bring it down to 3 HP. On my next turn, I power jump again, but this time on the blue Goomba. This leaves both the red and the blue Goomba at 3 HP, allowing me to finish them both off on turn 3 with a Fire Flower. I go back 1 room to heal my HP and FP and then continue forward. And next, we have the Goomba King. To start the battle, we power jump the Goomba King and then head bonk the tree, knocking down the ball and hitting the King, the red Goomba, and the blue Goomba for 3 damage each, killing both of the smaller Goombas and leaving the King at 4 HP. On my next turn, I use 1 more power jump and a head bonk to deal the remaining 4 damage and end the fight in 2 turns. Now at this point, there isn't too much nuance to this playthrough. I mean, without action commands, I'm basically locked to doing these less than optimal strategies. Oh hey Twink! Oh, it's our action commands, nice! This lucky star allows us to practically double our damage, as it finally allows us to use action commands in battle. Our first use of action commands happens immediately after when a Magic Koopa shows up for us to destroy. Sadly, this is one more fight that will take multiple turns to defeat, as we simply do not have the resources to deal 8 damage in a single turn. I start by using a power jump and a head bonk, dealing 6 damage to the Magic Koopa on our first turn. I then simply jump on the Magic Koopa on the following turn to finish the fight. There was just not another way to deal with this fight in a faster way, as there just are no powerful assets for us to use until later in this playthrough. We have Merlon smite the Koopa Bros and head over towards the Koopa Bro Fortress. On the way, I have to take a pit stop in Koopa Village to buy another Fire Flower and to help with the fuzzy situation. Here, I find Cooper, and once I get him his shell back, he joins our party. I am immediately attacked by 4 fuzzies, but with that newly bought Fire Flower, I can take them all down in a single turn. On the way out of Koopa Village, I slowly farm some money by selling the respawning turtley leaves and buy a few Fire Flowers and a POW block. Once I reach the Koopa Bros Fortress, I must fight this Koopa to get a key for the door. This fight has a Koopa and a Bob-omb. I could simply win this fight by using a Fire Flower and Cooper, but in an attempt to save my resources, I use another solution. I first power jump on the Koopa to knock him over, then Power Shell to kill the Koopa and light the Bob-omb's fuse. This is where my last rule of the playthrough comes into play. The turn counter only goes up once it comes back around to my turn, which means if the enemy dies on their turn, that is still turn 1. So on the Bob-omb's turn, it charges and blows up on me, which kills it before my next turn, meaning it only took 1 turn. After this fight, I level up. Choosing what things to level up is incredibly important towards making this challenge possible. There are 2 obvious choices here, FP and BP. Obviously, we don't really need to be upgrading health, as since we are beating these fights as optimally as possible, many enemies never even get a chance to bring us close to death. Usually I lean towards upgrading BP, but as of right now, we need much more FP than 5, as it is not nearly enough to allow us to kill higher HP enemies quickly. So after leveling up my FP and grabbing the key, we head through more of the fortress until we run into another key-holding Koopa. This battle is similar to the last, as it has a Koopa, but this time it also has 3 Bob-ombs. This fight could be done exactly the same as before, but to save on HP, I decided to fire flowers to just kill them all. Our next challenge is a room with 3 separate Koopa battles, one with 2 Koopas, one with a Paratroopa and a Koopa, and one with 2 Paratroopas. It doesn't matter which order we fight these in, so I will just explain them in order of complexity. The battle against the 2 Koopas is easy. Either use a POW block or a fire flower, and then use a power shell from Koops. The Paratroopa Koopa fight is similar, but it requires me to hit a first strike to knock the Paratroopa down before my first turn. This then allows me to use the same strategy as before, with either a POW block or a fire flower, then power shelling. The final fight against the 2 Paratroopas is next, and it will be our first case of RNG being a requirement of this playthrough. To beat these guys in 1 turn, I would have to have a way to knock them both down before my first turn, but that is completely impossible. I can only hit the first one with a first strike, which always leaves the second one in the air just out of reach of Koops. So, to still beat this fight in a single turn, I am required to use the Fright Jar. This item has a chance to cause enemies to run from battle, giving me no gained XP, but allowing fights like this to become possible 1-turners. So in total, this room adds 3 turns to the counter. After these battles, I continue exploring, grab power bounce from this little jail cell, then fall for a trap that was set up by the Koopa Bros. This lands me in a jail cell with some Bob-ombs, but while in here, we get our 3rd party member, Bombette. Bombette has some of the highest damage output in the game, so she is a welcome addition to the party. After she joins, we have to fight a Koopa and 2 Bob-ombs, but we've already dealt with fights like this before, so this is an easy 1-turn fight. I continue through the castle and reach the top level, where the Koopa Bros have a 3 bullet bill blaster setup. I successfully jump over the blasted bullet bills and initiate combat. This fight is seemingly impossible as these guys have 4 HP and 1 defense. Koops can only do 1 damage, and our best item against them is the POW, which does 2. Except, wait a second. Fire flowers deal damage to bill blasters? What? So when I was figuring out the logistics of this challenge, I was discussing with one of the Paper Mario Discord servers. And during the discussion, no one realized that fire flowers could be a possibility until a couple hours after I had initially brought up this fight. Now, the reasoning for why they didn't know is why I think this challenge is so interesting compared to an actual speedrun. See, you only have a select number of fire flowers that you obtain on the way to the Koopa Bros fortress, and in a speedrun, it is more worth your time to skip out on getting any extras from the shop, so you would never see this strategy in any challenges other than this one. So by using a fire flower and a power shell, I can deal the 4 damage needed to kill the bill blasters, and then I head into the boss of chapter 1. Here's Bowser? To get past this guy, I power jump for 3 damage and then bomb for another 4. I then block his attack, and on my next turn, hit another power jump to finish off Bowser? This reveals the Koopa Bros inside, and they stack up on top of each other. A lot of times when an enemy gets put into another phase, games will just skip to the next turn. But here, we are still able to attack with Bombette because it hasn't skipped our turn. This is perfect, as Bombette's bomb attack is the only attack available to us that can knock down the Koopa Bros on its own. This doesn't really help us, however, as they all have 5 HP, and since partners can't use items in this game, our measly 3 damage Fire Flower will not be enough to defeat them in a single turn. But before I came to the fortress, I realized something. By running all the way back to Goomba Village after receiving your lucky star, you can actually find a different kind of star on the balcony behind the Goomba family's house. The shooting star is the strongest offensive item in the game, doing a whopping 6 damage to every enemy in the fight. This allows us to immediately defeat the Koopa Bros after we knock them over, allowing us to win the whole fight by turn 3. After getting through chapter 1, we are met with one of the various Peach sections of the game. These are mostly unrelated to the challenge, but I will bring them up if they have something important in them. On our way back to Koopa Village, we run back into Junior Troopa. He has 12 HP and 1 defense. On my first turn, I use a power jump for 3 damage and bomb for another 4. Then, on turn 2, I use a thunderbolt that I found earlier to do 5 damage and finish him off with a second bomb. This fight causes me to level up again, and this is where I begin to spec into BP a lot. I reach Koopa Village and help Koopa Koot out with some of his troubles to gain access to the best moneymaker in the game. This is the 9-block game, aptly named after its 9 blocks. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11? Anyway, this game involves hitting blocks that have coins or coin multipliers in them, and dodging the Bowser blocks. There are 4 1-coin blocks, 3 5-coin blocks, and 2 5 times multipliers. By hitting all of the additive coin blocks, then hitting the 2 multiplicative ones, I get a total of 475 coins. But if you hit every non-Bowser block, the Toad also doubles your coins, meaning I actually get 950. I definitely did this completely legit. Remember kids, cheating is bad. Wait, but gambling is also bad. So find a way to guarantee your win. Using this will allow me to get as much money as I need throughout the playthrough. So if you see me buying anything, just know this is where I got it. I hope I don't get kicked out of the casino. After absolutely robbing these guys blind, I grab an FP+, then buy everything in Ralph's Bad Shop. Nothing here is too great other than the speedy spin, which allows us to move around quicker. But this store will be of great use later on. I start chapter 2 and run into Parakarry. I need him to join my party, so I go get 3 letters for him. And on the way, I run into Wacka. My chat was begging me to bonk him with a hammer, but come on, he's just too cute. Like, why would anyone ever... I grab my 3 letters and return to Parakarry to add him to my team. I then head towards our next location and grab a useless badge along the way. I do also grab a pretty useful badge, however. Wake Hammer's like really good, guys. As I cross over this bridge, Buzzer asks me if I'm Mario, and I lie. Why would I admit that? After passing Buzzer, I grab some necessary quest items and upgrade Bombette at the Oasis. I then reach the Dry outpost and run into Merly. Now, Merly is an interesting part of this game. Using Merly involves a ton of RNG. And while technically the most optimal way of beating this game would be to have Merly at all times, I just didn't want to deal with that. So I'm just not going to use it for the sake of a more interesting video. Because with Merly, almost every fight becomes a 1-turn fight. So without Merly, I head to the pyramid and once inside, grab the Spike Shield badge. Then I hit this question mark block to make 3 Pokies appear. These are 3 more required fights, but I can beat every one in a single turn. I hit the Pokies with a Quake Hammer and a Power Shell to deal 4 damage to each. In the fight with a Pokie and a Swooper, I equip the Spike Shield badge to allow me to jump on the Pokie. And so I power jump on the Pokie, then shell shot the swoop with Parakarry. For the 3rd fight, I first strike with Bombette to kill the first Pokie, bomb the second Pokie, then I use a Thunderbolt that I bought earlier to kill the swooper, making all 3 fights take 1 turn each. With these 3 fights finished, I head to the next room and grab our first weapon upgrade of the game, the Super Hammer. This will increase the damage output of our hammer attacks for the rest of the playthrough by 2. Our next 3 battles are against 2 Stone Chomps each. Each of these battles are easily beaten with a variety of Bombette attacks, and we do them all in 1 turn each. This leaves only the boss left in this chapter, so I stock up on Thunderbolts and head to the fight. Tutankoopa has an HP of 30, and while some of his attacks could cause issues for casual players, these attacks don't really cause too much issue for me. This battle has a single game plan for me. I bought 3 more Thunderbolts before coming here, and I use them every turn. Each turn, I'll use a Thunderbolt and then Shell Shot for 5 damage with Parakarry. Even with my health pool of only 5, he cannot kill me, as on his first turn he summons a Chain Chomp, then on turn 2, he and his Chain Chomp use 3 damaged attacks. And even though this would be enough to kill me, I can live with just 1 HP by guarding both attacks, and in 3 turns finish off Tutankoopa. Now, at this point, we are only 2 chapters into this game, and have already taken 36 turns. But things are actually going to slow down a little bit at this point. But first, we have a Peach section. Now, like I said, I will skip over basically the rest of these, but this one is actually incredibly important. Because during this section, Peach finds us the Power Rush badge. This is a badge that gives our attacks +2 damage when at 5 HP or less. This badge is pretty alright, but obviously isn't that useful because Peach has the badge instead of Mario. But in this random room, there is an ender chest that Peach and Mario have access to. This lets Peach send the Power Rush to Mario, and we can use it later. After this, I grab a few more badges from the badge shop, then head to Chapter 3. Forever Forest is as silly as it always is, but there isn't anything to get in it. Once we reach Boo Mansion, we gain access to the Super Boots and our newest partner, Bo. I continue through the level and eventually reach Tubba Blubba's castle. Here, I actually find the Mega Rush badge. This badge is the backbone of the rest of this challenge, as it causes our attacks to gain +4 damage when we're at 1 HP. But how do we get to 1 HP? We could go into battles and let enemies damage us down to 1 HP, but that would take precious turns. This would also require us to do this every time we level up, so we need to figure out some other way to get down to 1 HP. Thankfully, this chapter actually has something ready for us to use. This random cabinet in the Boo Mansion, when interacted with, will fall and deal 1 damage to us. This means we can always get ourselves to the exact HP that we want, and to top it all off, it can't even kill us because overworld hazards only lower to 1 HP in this game. So now that we're at 1 HP, we have way more damage. Our next obstacle is this Klubba blocking the locked door needed to progress. This should add another turn, but you can actually just barely sneak behind this guy and unlock the door, allowing us to pass by for free. Unrelated to this challenge, but why does it look like there's supposed to be a door here? Every time I pass by it, I think I'm missing a secret of some kind. I grab a talking key and run away from Tubba Blubba. And is this guy even a threat? I mean, look at him. Can't even climb up a little ledge. Why are we scared of this guy? Now, normally you would go straight to the windmill and fight Tubba's heart, but I have a different plan. Now that I have the Super Boots, I can actually go back to previous chapters and get the star pieces from flip panels. But once you have the Super Boots, if you try to go back through Forever Forest, you will run into Junior Troopa again. So this means we need to take him out here. And I gotta say, I think this is my favorite strategy of the playthrough. I had Double Dip, Power Bounce, Power Rush, and Mega Rush equipped. On turn 1, I use Double Dip to deal 10 damage with Thunderbolts. Then I use a 2 damage Skydive with Paracarry. I then don't block Junior's attack, making me take 5 damage, but getting me into danger range, activating Power Rush. I then use a danger boosted Power Bounce to deal 10 damage and then another 2 damage Skydive. I then do block Junior's next attack, which causes it to deal 4 damage and puts me into peril, giving me the Mega Rush boost. Now, something about this game is that Power Rush and Mega Rush don't stack, meaning if I'm in peril, I only get the +4 boost from Mega Rush and nothing from Power Rush. So, with a +4 boosted Power Bounce, I do another 18 damage, and with that, I kill Junior. With Junior down, I have access to all of the star pieces I missed before. I collect 25, and with that, go to Merlovely to buy a Power Plus badge. With this new badge, I equip it, Dodge Master, FP Plus, Mega Rush, and Power Bounce. With these badges equipped, I engage Tubba's heart. On turn 1, I deal a whopping 30 damage to Tubba with a 9-hit Power Bounce. I then Shell Shot for another 6 as he charges up for a big attack. But with just 2 more hits of a jump, I deal more than enough damage to kill the heart. It runs back to the main body, but that gets taken down with a single Power Bounce. This gives us access to the most useful special move in this challenge, Starstorm. This special does 7 piercing damage to all enemies and is overall just really good. In the next Peach section, I tell Bowser that Mario is scared of a bunch of non-enemies, as saying any enemies here would cause at least 1 more turn to be necessary. With nothing to do between chapters, I head straight to Chapter 4, and I immediately have 2 seemingly unnecessary fights that I do. These are against the red and yellow Shy Guys in the Shy Guy playground. The red Shy Guy has the shop owner's calculator, and the yellow one has Cake Mix. These each take 1 turn. Now, it may seem silly to do 2 completely optional fights in this challenge, but this is a minimum turns run, not a minimum fights run. It is absolutely necessary to do these fights. This is because the calculator allows us to get post-Chapter 3 badge shops, and the cake mix lets us cook a lemon candy after getting the cookbook from Gourmet Guy. This lemon candy lets me skip the anti-guy fight that is normally required to gain access to the Power Plus badge in this chest. Now, getting the calculator doesn't do anything for us now, but it will help us in the future. We run past the areas where Kamek sets up our greatest fears and then head towards our next fight, namely against the Lantern Ghost. This fight is fairly easy. I use bow to smack the lantern to allow me to deal damage to the ghost and then do a 28 damage power bounce. On his turn, he simply blows the lantern back out, so I do the exact same thing on the next turn, dealing the last 12 damage and unlocking our newest partner, Watt. What? I immediately upgrade her outside and then grab Ice Power. Now on to General Guy. This fight involves 4 phases. Each phase requires at least 1 full turn, as the turn order resets once the phase is over. This means I can't kill one phase with Mario and then attack the next phase with my partner. It all happens in one turn. So on turn 1, I save FP by doing a normal jump to deal 14 damage and finish the phase off with a Shell Toss. The second phase is taken out by a single Quake Hammer to deal 7 damage to both. Finally, I take out the third phase with a Starstorm and a Power Shell. The final phase involves General Guy himself. I have no way of killing him in a single turn, and with me at such low HP, I have to make sure that I don't die from his attack. I use a repel gel that I found earlier to turn intangible. Then I swap to Watt with Cooper. Watt does a 4 damage piercing attack, so it is best for her to be the attacking partner. General Guy misses me and I power bounce for 16 damage. This leaves the General Guy at 10 HP, and I am able to simply do one last jump to finish him off. Now, there is a chance that this fight could have been done in 5 turns instead of 6, but it would probably require way too much RNG. This unlocks another special move for us, but it is not useful to this challenge. Before going to chapter 5, I buy an all or nothing badge from the badge shop and then head to a whale. Or sorry, did I say to a whale? I meant into a whale, like in its mouth and in its stomach. Ugh. Here, I fight the Fuzzipede. Trust me guys, this fight is like so hard. Like it's just like so... Oh, he's dead. Yeah, that was 1 power bounce. In chapter 5, we meet Colorado. He sometimes runs into trouble, and while we could help him, that would require us to add some turns. So this guy's gotta learn how to fend for himself. I mean, we can't help you with everything, man. There are 2 times that he's in trouble, but you can just walk past both of them. We are tasked with finding some Yoshi kids, and Sushi joins us to help. Now, Sushi is busted, but you will see why later. During my quest to find the Yoshi kids, I dodge past this Shy Guy and get the Power Quake badge. This is just a slightly stronger version of the Quake Hammer. Now, I really want to stay at 1 HP throughout this whole chapter because that keeps me at my +4 buff, and thankfully, there is a really easy way to do that here. This random plant just starts sucking your life away whenever you jump on it. This lets you get to 1 HP incredibly easily. And then I just decide to head back to Toad Town with Sushi, cause why not? However, once you have Sushi, Junior Troopa will meet you back in Toad Town. Thankfully, he's really tired because he swam from the island, so he only has 20 HP. So with a Spike Shield equipped, I deal a 29 damage power bounce to him. I may have gone overkill a little bit. This fight puts me at 78 star points. I then fight the M-Bushes and use a Peril boosted Power Quake to deal 10 damage in 1 shot. These guys give me 28 star points, which levels me up. There wasn't any specific reason I mentioned that, I just liked how it was like perfect experience. Against these 2 putrid piranhas, I simply win by using Power Quake and a Power Shell. Continuing on, I have another fight against putrid piranhas, but there's also a Magic Koopa this time. I instead beat them this time with a Power Quake and a Power Bomb. Ooh. I talk to the Ravens, and the big one gives me a stone to upgrade my partners to rank 2. I go upgrade Sushi to rank 1 and then head into the volcano. Inside, I find the Ultra Hammer, upgrade Sushi to rank 2, and equip our Ice Power badge. And now we have the Lava Piranha. And this is actually the first instance of me actually needing save states to be optimal. This is due to Power Bounce sometimes capping out and forcing a missed action command. I'm not going to show all of the failed attempts, but with a solid Power Bounce, I dealt 38 damage and then finished off Phase 1 with a Body Slam from Sushi. Phase 2 was much easier, since with my Ice Power equipped, I dealt 2 extra damage with my jumps, letting me kill it with a single Power Bounce. After completing Chapter 5, I grab the Mega Quake badge from the badge shop and head to Chapter 6. And I'm gonna be real, this chapter made me crash out a little. I had done a lot of planning before starting this playthrough, but it was actually the first time I had played this game in almost 5 years. and I had forgotten a lot of stuff, especially just how convoluted Chapter 6 can be if you accidentally skip dialogue. So let's just skip to the fights, don't even worry about what was happening to me. I have 4 Monty Mole fights in this room with 1, 2, 3, and 4 moles respectively. I am able to defeat each of these with a Power Quake plus Power Shell, and in the fight against one, I just jump on it. We have this fight against 2 Lakitu and 2 Spinies, but this is defeated with a Starstorm and a Mega Bomb. Then we have to battle Spike. This battle theoretically could be beaten in a single turn, but it would require an insane power bounce that wouldn't be feasible in a normal run. But to get a single turn kill, I would need to hit at least a 47, if not higher. But that just wouldn't be feasible, as that would require an 11 bounce attack. Hey, editing astronauter here. I don't know what I was on when I was talking about this, but this fight is definitely beatable in one turn. The power bounce I did was 45 damage and this guy has 50 HP. I could use a squirt with sushi and it would kill him. So even though I didn't do it in the stream, just know this fight is doable in one turn and I'm going to mark it as such. After this fight, we get Lackluster. He isn't very useful now, but he will be eventually. This chapter gives us a new way to get into peril with these thorns, so that's just another convenience for us. Our next fight involves some Lakitus and a Magic Koopa. Actually, is it Lakitus or Lakitu? Do y'all know what the plural is? I genuinely have no idea. So tell me in the comments, please. I genuinely don't know. I beat this fight with an Air Raid and a Starstorm. Very easy. Finally, we reach Huff and Puff. On turn 1, I hit a 42 damage power bounce and then use Out of Sight with Bow to dodge his attacks. With each bounce that I did on him, he spawns little clouds to assist him. He then sucks in all of his clouds to heal for 2 health per, meaning he heals for 20 HP. But then I easily finish him off with a 44 damage power bounce. Honestly, that fight was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Before chapter 7, we have to fight a big blooper. But this fight is actually really easy, because you do this fight the first time you enter one of 3 areas, which means you could have this guy show up as early as like chapter 2, I think. We also find the Ultra Boots, which gives us 1 more damage to our jumps. Now onto chapter 7. Junior Troopa is back again, but is now a magician. I deal a 45 damage power bounce and then Out of Sight, where I can simply power bounce 1 more time to finish him off. I then fight Monstar, but because they only have 20 health, I take them out very easily. Further in, I pick the correct Koops and then fight some Dupligos. And just for fun, I use Sushi's new attack, Tidal Wave. This attack can do upwards of 13 damage with good execution. And since we're using save states, I mean, why wouldn't we just try to get lucky and mash as fast as we can with it? This time, I do 12 damage with it, which is really good. Against my next fight like this, I instead use a Mega Quake and a Power Bomb. Then I have a fight against a Blubba and a Magic Koopa, but I defeat them with a Power Bomb and a Starstorm. I do the same thing in the next fight and level up. Because of this level up, I have enough SP to use another Starstorm and Power Bomb. I also find the P up D down badge here. Finally, all we have left is the final boss of the chapter. I run back to the flower fields to get into peril again and then prepare for battle. The Crystal King has the potential to take a while to hit the correct RNG due to needing 2 different 45 damage or higher power bounces. With his 2 defense, it makes it really annoying to deal with him as he takes so much less damage. On my first turn, I deal 46 damage with the power bounce and then Out of Sight to dodge his attacks. And then I land a 45 damage power bounce. This was my first attempt. These odds were hilariously low, but they happened anyway. After defeating the Crystal King, there is nothing to do prior to chapter 8, so I head right in. My first fight was against this key-holding Koopa troll, but it was very easy. We have to fight 3 Koopa trolls and a Magic Koopa to reach a switch, but they are easily taken out by a peril-boosted Power Quake. Our next stop is this room with a ton of Bill Blasters, and here's where the initial rules matter so much. If you run from these guys, you are able to just pass through them by using your invincibility frames, but since there is no other way to pass by these without running, this would still count as a turn. But during stream, I decided to just pass by them without actually fighting, while still counting the turns. This is because at this point in my routing, it made sense to leave them as I wanted to keep myself at 1 HP for the rest of the game so I can be in peril for every fight. After skipping these 3 golden Bill Blasters, I fight this group of Dupligos and then run into Junior Troopa for one last fight. To defeat him, I hit a 45 damage power bounce, Out of Sight to dodge, and then power bounce again to finish him off. Finally, we have Bowser. Bowser 1 has 50 HP. I'm able to deal 49 damage with a power bounce, and then I kind of just finish him off with Bombette. Oh, and I level up. That wasn't in my routing. I am, however, going to play this from the assumption that I still had 1 HP, and before you say that's cheating, if I had known I was going to level up, I could have leveled up off the Duplighost fight instead by actually killing some of the Bill Blasters, and then equipped Last Stand going into the Junior Troopa fight to take a 4 damage hit and get right back into peril. So with that in mind, let's head into the final battle. To do this fight as optimally as possible requires a lot of good RNG. On turn 1, I power bounce for 35 damage, bringing him down to 64 HP. Then, I hit an insane tidal wave and deal 10 more damage. Then, my close call that I equipped procs, and I dodge. That part was all without save states, by the way. On turn 2, I hit another solid power bounce and then a perfect tidal wave. At this point, Bowser buffs himself to make himself invulnerable, and my Star Beam doesn't work to stop his buff. During our fight, however, Twink begins his own fight against Koopa. Now, this is a glorified cutscene, but it does take 5 turns to finish. With Twink having taken out Cammy, we can now use Peach Beam instead of Star Beam against Bowser to remove his buff. And with the buff removed, and with him at 4 HP, Sushi is able to squirt at Bowser for 5 damage to finish him off. This leaves us at 100 turns for beating Paper Mario 64. And if you were wondering, here are the stats for each chapter. Compared to the 1000-Year Door, this took way more. If you want to know what I could have done to get this as low as 70 turns, with some rule changes and updated terminology, I will be leaving a pinned comment that explains all of that. And again, if you're enjoying the content, please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers before Bringle gets to 100K, so please help me with that if you want to. Also, consider becoming a member. It really helps me out and keeps me afloat while I'm making all these videos for you. I promise there's more to come, guys. I promise. Like, for real.